Okay, it is 7 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order for our October 16th, 2023 Village of Romeo Trustees meeting. Let us all stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we start out, maybe take notice that our clerk is not here, so I have asked Ms. Sharon Smith to step in. She takes minutes for our tree board, so I knew she had some frame of reference in taking minutes. So going forward, we'll try and go slowly with you, for you. Could you please call the roll? And bring your mic, turn your mic on, bring it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Bartholomew?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
Fowler?
Yes.
Kerr?
Here.
Parker?
Present.
Rosso?
Here.
Poznanski?
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Moving into our agenda. I do have one thing to add here. It was asked for, just accidentally left off. I'm going to ask that we move everything down in our new business and put in letter A. Trustee Kerr had asked for green space on Prospect Street to be added, so we'll put that at the top of the new business.
Thank you.
And move those all down. If anybody else for the agenda.
Yes, under old, I think it would be old business, just for discussion, Sisson Street Park.
Okay, is that good down at E?
Under new business, the investment update and the road project budget update.
Yes.
Those were pieces of information I had asked from the clerk. It's not in the packet, so I'm thinking we should probably just table it unless that was provided to someone
I
else.
do have one item, but, for the road, but I don't believe there's anything for investment. I don't know.
Okay, we can table it.
Both?
The investment one?
Okay.
Okay.
So that's D?
Just D.
Just-
Okay, anything else? With nothing, could we get an approval of our agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Parker, second by Rousseau. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? None opposed. Okay, moving into our minutes from our September 18th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from September 18th, 2023 as written.
Support.
Okay, we have motion by Parker, support by Edwards. All in favor? Any opposed? We have none opposed. Moving into our bills.
I did have a question, I don't know if you're able to, or if you have to wait for the clerk. Last month, I did notice that there was a late fee that was whited out when presented to us, and now there's another total of a charge or fee on this current one for Chase. So I'd like to get some explanation on
Okay, ask.
that fee and why we're paying these fees.
I can ask for you. If there's no more questions, can we get an approval of the bills?
I have, excuse me, one question. County of Macomb Finance, $10. Do we know what that's for?
Where are you at?
It's under general fund. And it says County of, I'm on the, like, the third page. County of Macomb Finance. It's only $10, but it struck me as, I'm curious.
I do not.
Okay.
I apologize, I don't
That's okay.
receive the invoices, so I don't
Okay.
know. Again, we can circle back on that one.
Yeah.
The bills are in the amount of $341,443.59 and $38,903.65.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills as presented.
Support. Oh, go ahead.
We have a motion by Edwards and support by Parker. This one, I would ask that you call the roll as it is finances.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Care,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rosso,
Yes.
Poznanski.
Yes. Okay, and with that, we move into our presentations. We do actually have 2 presentations tonight. We'll start with our green space on Prospect Street. Mr. Corey, I guess you're the point person. There's 3 people.
Pardon me?
There's 3 people. There were 3 names given to me.
Oh, okay. I got what I was gonna say. I wrote it down, so it's got some facts and I want to make sure, so I'm just gonna read it. But first of all, I really want to thank the council for putting us on the agenda tonight. Back in April, we started a neighborhood group to go before the school board to ask them to pause the sale of the Prospect property while we work together to find an alternative use for the 4 acres. And then I think it was the July board meeting, the school board made a motion to sell the property to a developer who had proposed 17 homes. The motion died when they couldn't get a second. Then at the September board meeting, they asked this group to go to the village and see if they were open to alternatives, ideas for the property. So after about a week, we went over to the planning commission, and then they said that we were better off to come here. So to present our ideas on green space. Our group has been in contact with Green Macomb at the county level, the 6 Rivers Conservancy, and the 4 County Foundation, and they're excited to help you and the school board to find a use for this property besides selling it to build homes. So that brings us to tonight, and Donna Folan, who lives on Church Street, is a member of our group with professional expertise in green space, and she put together a small presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. So the presentation is not available on screen, but you have it in your packets. Okay, great. All right, well, thank you. You can click to the second slide. So thanks, Richard, for that introduction. And I'd like to briefly introduce myself. I've been a Romeo resident for 34 years, and I work for Oakland County Parks and Rec, been with them for 12 years, currently their chief of planning, and before that I was the director of 6 Rivers Land Conservancy. And so open space for the public has been my life, and I'm really excited about this opportunity for our community. So first of all, to sort of summarize again who we are, we're an ad hoc group of Romeo residents who see the vacant land at the former Romeo Middle School as an opportunity to enhance the quality of life for people in Romeo. In our proposal, we propose a vision of public green space that creates native habitat, is low maintenance, and provides a space for wellness and learning and relaxation. And our request here to you tonight is we are requesting that the village board host a study session in partnership with our group and Romeo Community Schools to explore the feasibility of this proposal and invite the experts who understand the resources that are available in the process for creating sustainable spaces for people. And the groups that we are proposing be involved in that are the 3 groups that Richard mentioned: Green Macomb, 6 Rivers Conservancy, and the 4 County Community Foundation. So what might a public green space look like? Gave you a few photographs of a little mood board to show you what it might look like. We're thinking recreating native landscapes, open areas for walking and unstructured play, and quiet places to relax and restore yourself. And the question that we will need to answer, a very important question, is who would this proposed public green space be for? And research has shown that most folks are willing to walk 10 minutes to, go to a park. So I provided you with a map that we've mapped, like, who lives within a 10-minute walk of the former middle school property. Within that area, which is sort of the little blue blob you see there, if it's in color, There are 13 people and 600 households in that area, and it's half of a square mile. That's about half of the people in Romeo Village proper, and the area is a quarter of the entire village, actually half of the area of the historic village on the where people live. I gave you a bunch of statistics that I'm not going to go into in detail, but besides the population, it shows there are people within that area who we would want to have access to the park and to use it. And it's also important to note that there are people and households in need within that area. We've got 9% of folks below the poverty level, and 30% of households reporting on the census that one or more persons in their household has a disability. So there's all of us, and there's who would benefit from access to the healthy benefits of connecting with nature and exercising outdoors. And we propose on this slide with the 4 squares on it, we propose 4 core values: equity, wellness, sustainability, and activity. Under equity, that would be the park should, green space should welcome everybody. No fences, no fees to enter, people feel safe. Every time you have a public open space or a park, it's an opportunity to celebrate the diversity in your community. You know, we've got a fairly large Hispanic community that we could offer materials in that are translated. We could learn about indigenous history of the land and stewardship. And we certainly would want to, we're proposing minimal infrastructure, but whatever was built, trails or whatever, universal access for people of all abilities, which is really exciting because the village is finishing up the sidewalk projects, and connecting with that village sidewalk accessibility now brings a big opportunity. So to talk about wellness, connecting residents with the health benefits of outdoors spaces and activities, connecting with nature, walking to and within, and room to play. We're always complaining about kids being on their phones and their computers all the time. Unprogrammed open space for kids to play and groups to be active, and which is actually the way kids are using it now. You see them running around out there all the time. Mental health breaks, quiet spaces to relax and refresh, and places to socialize and connect. About sustainability, we are proposing, as I said before, managing costs with minimal infrastructure and low maintenance needs, calling on volunteers for stewardship and maintenance, planting Michigan native trees and habitats to create habitat for native birds and pollinators, but that's also low maintenance and low cost. Green water infrastructure to manage runoff. We've got erosion issues on the property. We could have a demonstration of best practices for dealing with those. And climate positive, go beyond being net zero, planting trees, planting native landscapes, absorbing additional carbon dioxide. So talking about activities, the property has a long history as a center of learning. It could be an outdoor classroom for preschools, daycares, homeschool groups, public schools. It could be a space for adult classes, yoga and exercise to use, and just the walking, jogging, and running, quiet moments and gathering with family and friends. So all of that, which of course, we think these are really great ideas, but that's not all they are. When we hopefully move beyond visioning and are starting to engage with funders, grant makers, they'll require that we show in a very concrete and quantifiable way how we plan to serve all members of the community. So thinking about all of these things up front is very important to us and for our future success. And the next slide, the proposed green space on Prospect Street could be a unique experience among a variety of outdoor community spaces and experiences for Romeo residents. So looking at all of the parks that we have available to us living in Romeo, the Bruce Township Park, which is in walking distance, walking and open play, soccer, picnic pavilions, the community center park where we are now with the playground, sledding hill, active recreation for kids, playing fields, Trailside Park with access to the Macomb Orchard Trail, and the Village Park, which is this really cool urban setting for festivals, events, and celebrations. The proposed green space would be a valuable addition to like a diverse portfolio of different types of park spaces and public spaces available to village residents. So we're asking you to weigh this opportunity carefully and fully, because when it's gone, we can't get it back. So for me to close, I want to thank you for your time and your consideration. Our group is here to engage you in exploration of this vision. We want our communication with you to be as clear and easy as possible. Therefore, I'm going to introduce you to Franco Filino, who has agreed to be our spokesperson and liaison with the village and with the school board. Franco grew up in the area, attending the Peach Festival every year as a kid, and we are so lucky Franco and his lovely family have made their homes here now. So with that, I thank you again. I'm very pleased to introduce Franco. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name, as Donna said, Franco Filino. I live at 253 Chandler Street. I'd like to say thank you to Richard for starting our initiative earlier this year, and without his guidance and proactivity, we wouldn't be here today. Also, I'd like to say thank you to Donna for building such an excellent presentation that captures our group's vision. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to our group of over 80 village residents who have dedicated time and resources to organize our effort and support our vision. It really is great to see so many people energized to work towards a common goal. Richard's opening comments explained how our group arrived here. Donna's presentation set the stage for our group's vision for the lot on Prospect Street, and I am speaking tonight to hopefully provide some of the why and bridge the gap in understanding how we can get from our current position to where we would like to be as a community, specifically in regard to the lot 297 Prospect Street. Currently, as you're all well aware, Romeo Community Schools owns the Prospect Street lot. It's clear to our group that the school board would like to see a future for the property that is within the best interest of the village and the surrounding community. Our group is requesting the Village Council collaborate with the Romeo School Board and invite organizations such as Green Macomb, the Six Rivers Land Conservancy, and the Four County Community Foundation for a study session to transform the lot on Prospect Street into a green space for the village of Romeo. There are countless reasons as to why a green space in this lot will be beneficial to our village. Just to name a handful, a green space would be the least disruptive option to the village, totally avoiding the dreaded possibility of a miniature subdivision being built in the middle of our historic village. A green space provides for a place for families and people to slow things down and enjoy their lives. It vastly increases many quality of life factors. Not to mention, a green space here would add a tremendous amount of overall green space and park space to the entire village. And also, if you look at the map, it's somewhat centrally located as well. So we don't have to talk about which quadrant do you live in, south of 32, east of Old Van Dyke. It's nearly centrally located, so accessible to just about everybody. Lastly, this is what village residents want. The deactivated Romeo Park Citizen Task Force surveyed residents about more parks and green space in Romeo. This was in July, I believe, that this survey went out. Of the 40 survey responses, 39 village residents said they wanted more green space. Only one resident out of 40 said no. So 39 people said they want more green space in the village. Some of their handwritten comments included the following paraphrased statements. We need more green space, not cement and bricks. We need a community gathering place. We need an area for peace and relaxation. More new homes would be overwhelming. The village has no dedicated green space to show for the taxes residents pay. We don't need more buildings. Lastly, for our environment and future generations. On that final survey comment, the last reason I would like to highlight for a green space is perhaps the most important. The best reason to put 4.6 acres of green space in the middle of the village of Romeo is at home right now, getting ready for a busy school day tomorrow. The young people of this community desperately need a place where they can unplug from the world around them and enjoy some natural surroundings. After all, nobody in this room, most likely nobody, will be lucky enough to sit under the shade of a towering oak tree a future village council will dedicate to this proposed green space the day it is opened. It will be our children and their children to follow. The positive possibilities for the future of this lot as a green space are totally endless. We understand the acquisition of this property requires funding availability. To that, we say there are options to be explored that could enable the village to raise the funds required to purchase the property from the school district. We also understand the village might not have staffing available to manage this project and see it to its fruition. To that, we say we have a motivated and willing community willing to devote the time needed to make this space a reality. Please be assured, village leadership, you would not be alone in this effort. Our group, GSOPS as we're calling it, Green Space on Prospect Street, is committed to ensuring this effort will result in minimal burden, if any at all, to the village leadership and its residents. In summary, our group is requesting the following from Village Council. First, please commit to a green space future for the lot on Prospect Street. And have Village Council agree to collaborate with the Romeo School Board to invite organizations for a discovery session or study session to discuss property acquisition and funding options. Thank you for your time and your consideration of this matter. Good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next presentation, we have, where am I? The Romeo Vintage Christmas, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica Newby. I own the Julia Chocolate Factory and the Romeo Town Hall Soda Fountain in town. And I would like to make this Christmas kind of special in Romeo. I'm going to read, you all have, was this in your packets? Okay, great. So I'm going to read a little bit for you guys about what I'm hoping to do. I think we've noticed a lot of people, we need some events that people have fun and fellowship at that are less of a cost and more family oriented. What I have is, what I'd like to schedule, or what I've already scheduled, is a vintage Romeo Christmas on the Fridays and Saturdays of December, December 1st, 2nd, 8th, 9th, 15th, 16th, and 22nd and 23rd. I have some special things that I've coordinated, such as horse and buggy rides provided by Silverwood Farms each Friday and Saturday night, except for December 9th. Right now they are currently booked. And they have Christmas lights and they want to ride around town, and people can have rides in the magical Christmas. The goal of this whole event is to bring downtown shopping. As business owners, we've been trying to find ways to get people downtown at events that aren't cumbersome to local government or the DDA. They work, everybody's working so hard right now. So I'm trying to pull this format together where it's easy and the business owners and the families can come together and do something special that's low cost. So vintage cars will be invited to park up and down Main Street on these days. We have an idea for magic holiday windows like they do in New York with Macy's and Gimbels. The way they originally started was Gimbels started doing the parades in town, and then they started doing these magical windows where they cover them up. So December 1st, all the businesses would, inside or outside, whatever location they have, to get people in their doors, they would create a special window. I mean, it could be animatronics, it could be an antique train, it could be, something fun, but based around the theme. We keep this theme very open-ended so that everybody can come up with an idea, something that might already have, but something that would be really interesting for people to come and see. So the windows will be hidden from view until December 1st. Could be as simple as some brown paper and some wood, whatever. But then a celebration of their unveiling will happen on that day, on December 1st. It's a Friday. And then the windows will be up for display until January 1st, 2024. At the Antique Mall, I've already been talking with the group there. We have a lot of windows there. They have a lot of special, cool, vintage Christmas items. They're already very excited about doing this big reveal. What I'm hoping is that businesses, homes, doesn't matter. I like, the businesses are the focus in the downtown, and the churches, the restaurants, but it may be just a little corner if you don't have a big window, but somewhere where it gets people into your venue to come and see something special. I am very tech savvy, so a lot of the coordinating for the multimedia, I will do it all. The posters, the promotions, it's all very low cost for me, and I'd find sponsors to cover some of those needs, but also an interactive map of Christmas lights where anybody in Romeo area community, it could be K-Pac or wherever, but it just allows for cars to know, or families to know where they can go to find the coolest Christmas lights. And each home who enters, submits their home, can make a little description of this is what we have for our Christmas lights display. So people can do their own little maps around town. Christmas carolers and music will be promoted and coordinated to enhance the event. We'll connect, we are already, and we only have a few businesses left, but we're connecting with each business to ask them how they might like to participate. Special food or drink items promoted with the vintage theme of Christmas. Some of the things that we're going to be doing are chocolate, not sure exactly what yet, that'll be the surprise, but somebody's brought up sugar plums. I mean, what's a sugar plum? And I know I've seen in the town that people have done the chestnuts, roasted chestnuts. How special is that? The plan, we will promote all activities on all social media channels. We'll coordinate with the local DDA to help us promote as well. We'll promote the Romeo Historical Society Christmas Home Tour along with our events, because that Saturday, right after the first reveal, is their Christmas home tour, and that's a very beautiful event. The schools and local organizations, if they would like to participate in any way to celebrate the holiday season, we will assist in coordination and promotion. Local churches will be invited to be a part of the festivities. Friendliness, flexibility, adaptability, safety, low cost, and creativity. These are all the features we expect to be the guidelines of our event. Our goal is to create a beautiful atmosphere in downtown Romeo that is inviting and magical. Romeo is known for its history and charm, and the Christmas season is the perfect time to bring people together for fun and fellowship. So with this, I will have a website. We'll be doing posters. Anybody who wants to be involved, I have a master calendar. So all the businesses know, if I'm doing, let's say, reindeer pancakes are happening at Marty's place at the Four Corners, everybody knows, well, I can do pancakes, but maybe not reindeer pancakes. Maybe they'll come up with something else. But having that giant calendar for all the businesses who will know what each other's doing, it allows to stay away from competition. It promotes more, let's all work together. So we all know Santa's not at the same place all the time. So we've already coordinated a few of those. But yeah, so just working, my goal is to work together more with these businesses, which we're already doing, and notifying them and making just a great event that's flexible. So my reason for being here is, number one, I wanted to let everybody know and start generating excitement. But I want to make sure that we don't need any permits or anything concerns that we might have for this event. So that's why I'm here today.
The only thing I could think of would be if you're gonna wanna shut down any roads, areas of sidewalks, porta-johns, stuff like that. I think it would just simply be a special event permit. Outdoor electrical use of generators, stuff like that is all in that permit. Maybe just stop in and talk with the clerk.
Yep.
And just verify, maybe map out some stuff is all I can think, but I wanna thank you, this sounds amazing. It's a lot of hard work you put in, and this is awesome. You know, for years we've been saying and hearing the DDA's not event planners, and so much has been put on them for years and years and years to do it, and finally, businesses are stepping up, and this is great.
Right.
This is awesome, thank you.
Yes, any help, I will talk to the permit person.
It'd either be Cindy or,
The only one, the horses, the map, is there anything I have to think about for that? No, she said she has insurance, she's crossed streets before with the
Probably gonna need
haunted.
like a staging area, so you're probably gonna need, use some parking spaces or
Yep.
a street or something.
Yep,
Obviously, clean up of horses would be something they wanna
absolutely,
make sure that we,
absolutely. And
simple
I'll
stuff,
keep in
but-
coordination, but this, today being here is just to make sure you all know what's happening, and if we do have any problems or concerns, I can address them immediately.
Right, and in our correspondence, I let you know, again, get with the clerk, and we had enough time that if permits are a thing, we come back
Yep.
next month, there's enough time
Perfect.
to approve what we need to, so, yeah,
Perfect.
definitely get in the office.
All right, well, then tomorrow I'm gonna launch this to everybody and start getting all the fun things that are gonna happen.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica.
Okay, that is all we have for special presentations tonight. I have not received any correspondence, which moves us into our public comments. This is the time for public comment. You have 3 minutes at the podium if you would like. No? Okay. Then I guess we will close public comments. Moving into our officer reports. As you can see, the clerk is not here. I do have a report from her to read. She apologizes. She had last-minute health issue come up. So regarding the payment in lieu of parking committee, the PILOP, it has not met yet. She met with some members of the DDA to discuss their member representative along with a business representative. Still need a planning commission member to be a part of the committee. In regards to the clerk's report, on October 4th, the Romeo Cemetery accepted 5 bids for the roads repaving project. The cemetery's engineering firm, AEW, was present to read the bids along with 2 cemetery board members. The cemetery board will meet on October 18th to review the bids and make a decision. On October 8th, I attended, as in Clerk Trapp, attended the Michigan Government Financial Officers Association Conference. This is a chapter of the National Organization of Government Financial Officers Association. The conference covered topics such as funding your capital improvement projects, investing, executing budgets and legislation, and grants available at a federal level. Recently met with 2 members of the DDA, including their chair, to discuss some items with ordinances and permitting processes in the DDA and CBD. We also talked about working together to welcome new businesses in the community. We will continue to work together on this endeavor. That was from Clerk Trapp. Nothing from Treasurer Miller. And I guess we can move into the President's report. I will start at the top regarding some items that were brought up at public comment last month. The first one was regarding the speed limit. And the question was raised, where are the signs around the village? So in looking into this, I spoke with the police chief regarding the topic briefly and noted that in our ordinances, we have adopted the Michigan Vehicle Code and Uniform Traffic Code, which sets essentially the speed limits, adopting them according to the state, that in residential areas, it is 25 with or without posting. So Chief just wanted to reiterate that whether or not it's posted, you will still get a ticket for going over 25 within the residential area. I did note, though, that in our ordinances, we do have areas within the village where it is set to 15, specifically where the schools are. And given that we no longer have a school on Prospect, we could remove that speed limit restriction on Chandler and Prospect if the council would so like. Obviously, leave the one over the southwest side. And that was that for speed limit. Regarding the Sisson Street Park, some clarification was asked for, so a motion was made in July to establish the Sisson lot as a village park. This passed, was it unanimous? I don't remember.
No.
I think there was one. Anyways, it passed. In August, a motion to reconsider the establishment of this park failed. Therefore, the original motion was unaffected and stands. The lot is a park. It is designated as a park. So we move forward. So far, I have gone to the Parks and Rec Commission and asked them to assist with the development and possible care of the park. A few weeks ago, on September 29th, I met on the site with Macomb County Planning Economic Development Parks and Natural Resources Program Director. I reached out to show them the space and inquire what, if any, assistance they could offer. That is Green Macomb, who also helped in the planting of the trees and getting the trees over on our trailside park. They are very familiar with grants that are available, familiar on how to stack the grants, that sort of thing. They are positive that we could get something in the works. However, there, of course, are timelines to this. I've turned in a few bits of information that we have in support of the park to try and hurry it along. The next things that we would need to do as a community would get public engagement. My thought was at least a couple. I don't know that one session would be enough. And then go from there. We need to get renderings, drawings, again, hoping that that could get covered with grant money, or it's been mentioned that there's apparently someone who wants to donate over $60,000. That could be leveraged. So that's with Sisson Park. I attended the Metro Partners meeting on September 19th. That was out at the Youngblood Vineyard. Beautiful setting. We had a fire and ALS subcommittee meeting where we, as in the subcommittee, went and offered our request to Bruce Township as they first had given us a request. Regarding the sidewalk extension outside the new middle school, great news, finally officially closing out. And even better news, we're closing out at the current cost. We will not be paying anymore. And Malberg Funeral Home will be reimbursed for their irrigation that was disrupted and the cost that it was to put it back. On October 4th to 6th, I attended the MAP conference, the Michigan Association of Planning. I had 16 hours of instruction, very overwhelming, great information though. At least one thing I walked away with was an STR is what they call it, ordinance, basically Airbnbs, verbos, that sort of thing. We don't currently really address that. I would rather us not wait till one gets here, wherever it might pop up, and address that now how we would want it, where you can put it in a district, you can put the parameters on it, how many, time of day, how many rentals. There's a lot that we could hone in before it gets here. Be proactive in that area. Regarding our EV tip, we are continuing in the process of our strategic plan creation. A few of us met this past Friday for 4 hours. We had representatives from Village, our treasurer and myself. We also had representative from the Planning Commission, the DDA, and our DPW supervisor. I had a meeting with the Great Lakes Water Authority this past week. It's a time of year where we are allowed to have a reopener in order specifically this time to address the flow in the industrial district that obviously due to the shuttered plant, who is our largest user, we didn't know at the time though how much we would need or how much they wouldn't be using. So we waited the year. It's our contract reopener. Unfortunately, over the past year in the restricted usage periods, there were multiple spikes that happened. These spikes were outside the contracted allotment for our hourly and our overall usage. So our team is working to address the issue and hopes to still be able to achieve the adjusted contract usage for our industrial district. We will know more next month. You will see in your packets there's not a tree RFP item as nobody submitted for the tree RFP. So that's why that's not in there. I attended the State of the Community event held by our local chamber and gave the update for the Village of Romeo. And also we have our CIP coming up next Monday or the following Monday, the 24th. So far we have 30 Romeo attendees and we have neighbors over at the Village of New Haven who are bringing 7 people going to be in this room. All of the boards have been invited and it's going to be a good evening of learning and education for us as we step forward with our CIP. Okay, so Do you want to start, Nolan, with our trustees?
I'm all set.
Okay. Nothing? Barker?
Yeah, I've been in contact with Don Brown at the county, and we'd like to have him come out next month, him and his people, to talk about their Comtech dispatching system. He thinks it could benefit the village, so we'd like to get him on the agenda for next month as a presentation. Besides that, planning, pretty much the same stuff we've been discussing, talking about the permitted uses in the CBD, mainly with the sidewalks, discussing some language for that, fencing permit and language, more so related to corner lots and front yard usage of bushes and different type of fencing, and then some language for a flagpole ordinance, more so for safety. That was it, planning.
Could you have Don Brown reach out to me, send me an email of a request,
Will do, yeah,
just so I don't forget?
yeah.
Thank you. Bristol?
I attended the October tree board meeting as village liaison. They're busy and they have a few questions and things we need to clarify, so I'll contact you directly and get those answered.
Yes, please. Email.
Yes, yeah, and that's it.
Nothing here.
Yes, this Saturday at the Romeo United Methodist Church, our men's group is putting on a breakfast, a free breakfast at 9 o'clock. And our guest speaker will be Mr. Lucido. He's going to be talking about scams and how to not be scammed. So that's always a good time. Anyone's welcome.
Yes, he does a very good senior scam presentation. I think that is it for our reports. Moving into our committee reports. Off the top, we have our crosswalk project there. I was going to ask us to strike the crosswalk project subcommittee. Haven't met in a while. We're moving on as a council. You've directed me to be the communication, so I mean, you haven't met in quite a few months, so
No,
you're
no,
good
it's
with
kind
that?
of been in
And
your
it's
balls
just
in your
sitting
court,
on
so,
here?
yeah, we can-
So, we could get a motion to dissolve the crosswalk project
I'll
subcommittee.
make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Parker, second by Fowler. All in favor of dissolving? Aye.
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 Any opposed? We have none opposed. We have our fire and ALS contract. I did address that in my presentation, or my president's report, but do either of you have, Trustee Edwards or Parker are also in the subcommittee? Anything?
I think
No, I don't.
pretty much
Okay.
covered it. Discussions are being had.
Okay, with our Parks and Rec lease, we are still waiting there. Unfortunately, Parks and Rec Commission has seen some changeover already, so we're kind of hanging out with that. And then our PILOT committee, read that from Clerk Trapp. And then moving into our unfinished business, our media policy. We've been working on this, I feel like it's been 6 months. This is the final adjusted from last month. If we're ready to approve it, make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Village of Romeo media policy as presented.
I'll
Support.
second.
Okay, we have Edwards' motion. We'll give support to Bartholomew this time. If you could call the roll on this one, I'd appreciate it.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Care,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rosso,
Yes.
Poznanski.
Yes. Yay. Okay, our crosswalk project. So we heard back, last month, we had our report from our engineers. I shared that with Roe and our request that they fix the items that our engineers addressed. I gave you their communication in here. They basically said no. I mean, very lengthy no. They did give support and documents and pictures, and that is all in there. So this is where we're at, and they are asking that we close out the project. We need to make a choice here. We've done all the legwork. We're either going to close it out, or we're going to make some sort of movement.
I mean, I mean, same stuff that we've been talking about. I mean, the project was left, not, most of it not even to spec. I shouldn't say most of it. The areas that were pointed out, the areas of concern, were even outside of the allowed percentages. They, even in some of their supporting documents, they talk about, they knew this, the contractor stated this. At some point, I think it talked about the DDA director giving authorization to move forward on a village project. I'm not sure how that happened, or where that authorization came from. I don't know, as a professional contractor, business owner myself, I would never just go through with a project knowing that it was gonna be done wrong, and then just expect people to pay and just be fine with it. I mean, I don't think we're in a position where we should leave it as is. I mean, just the simple safety concerns at some of these intersections and slopes.
I think that is the unfortunate part, is that some okays were given, and so they moved on in good faith of those approvals.
Were those okays given in the planning phase or on completion of the work?
Some of it was done.
I was gonna say, you'd have to read through here when he exactly.
During the project. And they were like, this ain't gonna work. And we need to stick to this plan. And it was, hey, hurry up, it needs to be done for Peach Fest, or, hey, we'll just put up a bike rack here to protect a step. And it was just,
Was it okayed by Christine? That's what we don't really know.
no, it's the one, I said DDA, the DDA director gave authorization on some of the stuff.
Yeah, there is a documentation that he does go through, and it's addressed to Christine. And she does sign off on it on November 7th of 2022. The summary of the, here, I'll read it so that you can. The summary of that letter that was signed on November 7th is: to summarize, our observation time increased by 90%. Our construction staking efforts increased by 50%. And we had to redesign storm drainage components of the project in 2 different areas. Knowing the schedule was going beyond what we had anticipated, we closely monitored our effort as an attempt to minimize the cost of impact to the village. Our increase in fee is less than 62% to reflect the effort it took to complete this project. We respectfully request an increase of $37,000 in the current construction engineering agreement cost, adjusting the total authorized from $59,900 to $96,900. And that was, in summary of the whole letter, was approved.
So they didn't ask for these funds as it was occurring, or as they knew they were incurring these expenses. Is this the first time, not the first time, this additional 37 was asked for after the fact?
I was not here. I can't tell you.
I mean, the letter was.
I mean, I have as
dated
much.
October 14th.
I have this
2022.
information that you have, but I wasn't.
And on an amount like that, I would assume it had to come before council for approval, not just president's signature.
On the redesigning of the storm sewer, is that one of the ones that was done over there on Washington Street?
I believe it
I'm
was.
assuming Washington and Maine?
Yeah,
No, I believe it was,
right there,
by
Mr. Tarr's.
Lafayette.
Yeah.
The one by
Lafayette.
Washington was just removed. It was never redesigned or put back in.
Had we ever collected that fee from Mr. Tar yet?
We have not. He directed us to work with his lawyer, or that his lawyer would be in contact. Mark, has his lawyer reached out?
He has not.
Okay. So, no, he has not.
So they're still requesting 96. Is it, am I correct, or just the additional 37?
It would be that adjustment.
Additional 37, which makes it.
Well, and I don't know that it's necessarily, that's already been signed off on, so.
That's already been paid. Is that correct?
I'd have to tell you the truth, off the top of my head, I don't know where we're at and what we've paid out. It was, I say difficult to say the least, to come in and get all the information in the middle to the end of the project, to be the one signing off on things that I didn't do, and trying to piece all the paperwork together.
Mark, what recourse do we have with this? I mean, we got a project that wasn't done to spec. Knowing it wasn't done, can we just not close this out? Demand to be done right and go from there?
Well, you may have, my recommendation would be to acquire some additional information first, but I'll tell you what your possibilities are. In that provision of the letter that Mrs. Poznansky just read, as it states near the end, we respectfully request an increase of $37,000. And so I'm assuming that the original amount of $59,900, it says, was already authorized. So they're asking for $96,900, the additional $37,000. I don't know if that's been paid, but you're gonna wanna find that out, at least in my opinion. That's my recommendation, because you'll notice, and I believe these are in your packets, there at the end of that letter, it shows row requests and that's directed to Mrs. Malzahn, your acknowledgement of the increase by signing in the space below, and it appears that that was signed by Mrs. Malzahn on November 7th of 2022. So you're gonna be hard pressed if the president of the village acknowledges the additional amount. You're gonna be hard pressed to say, well, we don't owe you the amount, because the chief executive officer of the village said, yes, the village owes it. Now, I don't know whether it's been paid. If it hasn't been paid, I suppose you could just refuse to pay it and see what road does. They might sue you for that. It's not an insubstantial sum of money. If it's already been paid, I believe it's gonna be hard for you to get that back when the president approved it. I'm not saying you can't, but I'm not a oh, excellent. I was hoping to get away with that. I'm not saying you couldn't sue to recover that money, but again, and I apologize for repeating myself, but I'm not a cheerleader. It's gonna be difficult to try to recover that money when the person in charge has signed off on it. Now, with respect to if there are other aspects of this that are of a concern, which you've expressed in past meetings, I would need to know exactly what those concerns are. I understand generally what they are. You'd have to ascribe a value to them, because generally what you'd be alleging would be a breach of contract, that you contracted with Rowe to supervise this project, to hire the subcontractors and do the work. And so typically in a breach of contract suit, you either, there are various ways of measuring your damages, but one of them is the difference in value between what you thought you were getting and what you actually got. So if you're claiming, well, this is shoddy workmanship, the value, your allegation would be as less than what we expected to get for the price we're paying. The other measure of damages, or another measure, it's not the other, another measure of damages is the difference between, or the costs that you paid and what it would take to repair it. So you get somebody else in, you would first want Rowe to be given the opportunity to make the repairs or supervise the repairs. And if they refuse, which based on the tone and tenor of this correspondence, I believe that they would refuse, but I don't know. And if they do, then you would hire somebody else to make the project conform to what you originally contracted. And you want to know that number, because I know it's public money and you're stewards of the public fisc, but if the amount is modest, you have to decide, well, are we going to pay a lawyer to sue them? Are we throwing good money after bad? So you need to know what needs to be done with some specificity and the cost to correct it before I would advise you to lurch ahead. And I mean, I'm more than willing to send off nasty letters, but if they throw the letters in the wastebasket, then you have to decide, what are you going to do? Are you going to pursue it or just do something else?
Gotcha.
Well, I think maybe we should table this till we have more concrete information, on whether we paid this bill or not.
Didn't, when Mike McDonald presented his findings to us, did he, I believe he said that he could or was willing to put together a plan, correct, on what it would cost and what would need to be done to correct those problematic areas?
I believe he said he could.
He could.
Well, if we get that as a, you know,
Yeah, I don't
a
know.
quote, we'll have all the money figures at our fingertips, rather than just us grabbing at
I
straws
think
right now.
initially he said that wasn't gonna exceed 2,500, or I don't remember the exact
did,
amount,
yeah.
but do we need a motion then to authorize the president to spend money up to a certain dollar amount to
To
have-
get these bids,
to
or
have
get this,
our engineer
sure.
draft something?
Do you have any idea what that's gonna cost?
I would just make-
25 or 5, I think he said it wouldn't exceed.
I say just make a motion not to exceed a dollar amount that you think would cover it, and we can continue down that road.
I don't know, $3,000 in, or
Sounds good.
just pull a number
I'd
out
ask
of
for
the
a little
sky?
more, just in case it's over, then we don't have to go back and forth.
I'll make a motion to authorize President Poznanski to work with our engineer, HRC, to develop correction plan for the sidewalks and slopes, not to exceed $5,000.
Support?
Okay, we have a motion by Parker, support by Edwards. When you're ready, if you could call the roll.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Care,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rosso,
Yes.
Poznanski.
Yes. Okay, I do know that they are quite itching for this. I do get communication quite often from Ro, asking where we're at and why we're not, well, you saw his timeline of how many times he's questioned me.
Little known we meet once a month,
And I
discuss
have,
once
but
a
I'm,
month.
I'm just letting you know that that's where the tone is at with this, and I'm trying my best to let them know that, and that's where we're at. Okay, sorry.
President Poznanski, if I can point out in the letter he gave, it's the page where it has the signature at the very top. It talks about that slope in front of Masonic, and
What is it dated?
October
one-
14th
okay.
of 2022, page 3.
Okay. Gotcha.
So if you read through it, it indicates that there was some discussion about that slope and that there needed to be a final resolution, and that Roe wasn't willing to pay or finalize the contribution until they knew what the resolution was going to be.
Correct.
So I'm thinking that in and of itself is still looming regardless of.
It is. There, did I give you in the other communication? I believe this was one of the more recent ones. The one addressed to me on September 29th.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if
I
we
thought he
could
had
get Mike
basically
McDon-
said we needed to address it, or they weren't going to be giving that money any longer.
Right. So could we get Mike McDonald to give us, or include that in making it proper again with the steps to that building and how it would be a safer?
I think that's all part of the slope and then the step, not just on the building, but that was more with the step down by the planter box and how it was too tall. And they
Right.
Did the temporary bike rack fix.
Right, but can we get that specifically in writing on what that would take to share with them? Because theoretically, let's say the 37,000 will be paid, but it's gonna take 15,000 to fix it.
So specifically that step, that section, is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
Okay.
that very significant slope.
So you want basically the whole corner, not just the step that 5,000 was going to address? You also,
Well, yeah, I'm not sure how
Okay.
it all,
yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? But I don't know what you can really do with all of it, but.
We don't either. That's why we haven't come up with an idea.
All right.
Okay.
If you can at least say yes or no. There's nothing you can do. Thank you.
Okay, so we will continue that into unfinished business. Moving into cemetery, we had some things at our table.
Can I give a little speech on this thing? Well, last month, the council allowed me to pursue some possible vacancies in the cemetery, Romeo Cemetery up here, off of Morton Street and Van Dyke. And I want to thank the council for allowing me to pursue that. I had contacted Don King from Armada, and he actually came over, and I met with him, me and Debbie Matone, and we sat there and walked the cemetery. And I got a hold of Trustee Parker, who then in turn got a hold of Clerk Mike Lee. And Mike Lee happened to point us to the village's website, to where that's stuff that you have in front of you, to where Mr. Lee, before he had exited the village, had put this information already on the website. So going through that with Mr. King and Mr. Parker, we discovered that there's over 80 to 90 plots that have already been plotted at the Romeo Cemetery. And we just need at this point to designate these lots. I mean, so I had talked to Debbie Matone again, and she indicated that it might be a good thing to have Mr. King, King's survey, actually stake these things out, but I think Justin indicated that we just get out there with a chalk line or a line and mark these things ourselves. But I think to have a surveyor do these would be more professional at this point, and we would actually know exactly where they are. I think what Mr. Lee had marked out, he had 4 rows off of Morton Street. And if you look on the sheets that I gave you, you'll see that your arrow is gray, mine's red. That's the row of current stones where bodies are buried. To the right of that is the plots that Mr. Lee had already had designated for cemetery plots in the village of Romeo. So I guess, long story short, there are plots there, as our clerk kept saying, that we're full. And I think we shall continue to research along with the cemetery board to see if there's more stuff out there. But
Can I say, have you brought it to the cemetery board yet?
I had worked with Debbie Matone, who's going to bring it to her board on the 18th. I think you guys are meeting or something like that.
So I would like to see it brought to the board, see if they would undertake that in the tax dollars that the residents spend already for the cemetery, as opposed to out of any other funds in our budget.
Okay,
When I talked to Mike, he said the few rows before that, they went out and marked them, set themselves with some string, every 5 foot, and I mean, they're already in use. I mean, it's a 5 by 8 square, and they marked every corner all the way down with the, like the 3-inch round, aluminum stakes they have up there that we can.
As straightforward as that is, I don't know if that would hold up in court.
I mean, it's all been
Yeah.
done here, but then that was the other
give you a
question
good
that arose
idea.
to me was, I know when I bought mine, I was literally just handed a piece of paper, a receipt. Hey, your name's on this one. No type of deed or anything. I don't know if the cemetery board can look into actually what that process entails, which I don't know. I mean, does it have to be registered with the Register of Deeds, and how far does that go? And can you actually get a deed for your lot, or is
No.
you cannot? Okay.
Well, I'm not saying you can't, but you buy the right to be buried. You don't buy the ground.
Okay.
Like you buy your home or a piece of property, build your home on it.
Yeah.
It might be different in other cemeteries, and you might want to look into whether you can actually provide a deed. I would just suggest that might not be a good idea.
Okay.
Because the village owns the cemetery. You probably don't want 800 people owning
Understandable.
small parcels of
Yeah.
property. You think you have fence issues now, wait.
Makes sense. Yeah, I didn't know how it worked.
Wait till you get into loved ones'
They're all
remains.
cut their own
So,
Yeah.
so you, yeah, a lot of flagpoles, good
Yeah.
point. So you buy the right to be buried there in a
Okay.
particular plot, and
Makes
that's
sense.
what you get, or at least what you should get. I don't know, I haven't looked lately.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't recommend you pursue actually deeding out the property itself.
Understandable.
Well, according to this ledger, which is unfilled, we definitely need to work with the cemetery board, or they need to work with somebody actually to fill the names into these plots. So the identification, then you don't need the deeds for the land, basically.
So trustee Parker, when you got your receipt, does it say like plot number
Yeah.
512?
Yes.
Okay.
So, the information of which I got from Mr. King and Mr. Parker and Mr. Lee, I think shows that there are spots in our Romeo Cemetery. And, we shall hopefully continue to work with the cemetery board to update their files so they can find more vacancies. So we don't have to go to Bruce Township, Washington Township.
Are you able, apparently, their minutes, the cemetery board minutes, they have started to have regularly scheduled meetings for the third Wednesday of every month.
Okay.
Are you able to attend that?
I'm usually at my job, but I'll try to make it.
Those are
It's okay.
AM, correct?
What time? 10 a.m.,
10.
okay, didn't say. Unless I missed it. That's
Okay,
okay.
and you also suggested that they provide the funding for the survey?
Yes, we do, our taxpayers do pay a cemetery tax. So to come out of our general fund on top of the tax that they already spend, prefer not to have that,
Okay, so it's something like that.
because that would mean less tax money going to other things that are needed. And they could also use their money to hire somebody to do what you're asking for, to get filled out, to do
Update the
clerical work.
files.
Because you have dropped the stakes. You know, no, I would agree, probably be a little better.
Well, you made me laugh, you said get out there with a string and paper.
Hey, let's do it. Donate a few hours, let's go.
Just made me shake my head, go, okay, all right.
Okay, so we have no work to do on this? Currently?
No, I'll
Okay.
get with the cemetery board and give them the information I have and push
Okay.
them in that direction.
Thank you.
Great.
Our consultants report. This was,
That was
Unfin-
my request, and I, just looking at the report, I believe it's still not clear to the clerk as to what I'm looking for, so if we could just table it, and I will get with her personally,
okay.
and we can bring it back later.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, we had an added item by trustee Bartholomew.
Yes, thank you. So, we have a park at Sisson Street, and I have met twice with some of the neighbors about this, and some donors were lost through some of the decisions that were made by this board over the last several months, but they could come back if, now that this is hopefully gonna become a reality. Back in the, when I was a kid, back in the 70s, there were no homes around Duck Pond. There was no Copper Commons. There was, and on all sides of the up by 30 campground, nothing. And so, at the back of the DPW property was the main trail that us kids would use to head out to Duck Pond to shoot our BB guns and what have you. So I grew up around there, and it kind of means a lot to me. I'd like to see it come to fruition. So we're going to keep meeting and just go from there. We're hopefully going to get some T-shirts with the plans that they brought in that 1 month as fundraiser, and so if anybody wants to help support it, they can get a T-shirt or a hoodie. We don't have them yet, but we will. So that's all I have.
Okay. Let us move into new business. We have our construction review board ordinance.
We had
I
We
put-
added, you added.
Oh, I apologize. What?
G-stops.
Oh,
You ate no
I do
ones
apologize.
today.
Yep. We had our green space on Prospect Street. Mr. Kerr.
First, I want to thank the group that did the presentation. That was awesome. It's very clear there's a lot of passion, not only in this room, but in the community. Call me crazy. I think I can pretty confidently, blanketly say this is what the village wants. I think everyone would like to see this. And the logistics of that are yet to be known. You know, obviously the school district is in it for a certain reason. They're looking out for not only the village of Romeo, but their whole district. And I think all really we need to do to start that process is to be able to start that conversation, to engage with the school district board, maybe talk to a couple of those organizations, Green Macomb, 4 Counties, and 6 Rivers. I think if we can start a subcommittee, I'd be very happy to act as a liaison. I know we already have some very passionate residents also interested in the parks through the Citizen Park Task Force. Maybe we can revive it. We can give it a cute new fun name if we need to, or revive them specifically and set their orientation a little differently to suit not only the Sisson Street Park needs, but maybe also this 297 Prospect Park needs. So I think it all starts with a conversation. It might not be viable, it might be, but I think it'd be really important, and I'd be happy to say that this board was able to start something that'll be around for generations.
Do you know exactly how much the school district is looking to get for that piece of property?
I don't have the specific number off the top of my head. Obviously they deserve to get something for it if they want to sell it. I think really we just want them to pause, to slow down. Maybe we can, you know, after meeting with them a couple times, maybe we can do a land contract, a short-term lease. All we want to do is start that conversation to see if maybe the village board can find some funding through grants or other avenues. We just want time to work on it, that's all.
I know it's out of line, but Richard, the school board did say they were willing to talk with the village and the county and the other commissions that you spoke of
Yes, they suggested that we come here.
come here, so.
I apologize, we're not having public comment anymore, this is within the council.
Well,
So
I
I'm
mean,
sorry,
I
he did
asked,
call you
so-
up there, so it's not your fault.
No, I
But
asked, so it's
Right,
fine.
but no, we're just gonna have discussion within the council.
I agree with Nolan. I think that it's an exciting potential park that we will all be proud of one day. If we're given the time to try to work out the details.
So the school board basically told them to come and see us.
Yeah, I mean,
And they want us to do exactly what, if we don't own the property and they're selling the property, they want us to do what?
I think the school board more so just wants direction. The GSOPs, the group of 80-plus residents, is looking to try to bridge those two entities, us and the school board, maybe bring in some of these foundations and groups who are excited and willing to participate, and just start the conversation to explore that viability. Obviously that's basically it. I mean, we're looking at like 3% green space right now in our village. Obtaining this property adds almost an entire percentage point, and that's huge. It's in our master plan. That's something we're looking forward to, or looking to, obtain.
Well, we know it's all about money, or they wouldn't have put the place up for sale in the first place. Do you know if they, as far as the contract with the contractor, has that gone through, or is that still in the?
No, it is not.
Okay, so they're still talking with them.
I don't know if they're still talking with the contractor. I guess what I'd be looking for, they're not still talking with the contractor. I guess what I'd be looking for is a lot of these questions could be answered if we just have the provided opportunity to ask them.
I'll make a motion to form a subcommittee. Nolan, as the liaison, I'd be willing to sit on that with you also. And if there was a third member that wanted to join us to have conversations with the school and the county and the other commissions that we need to.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Also check with them on, as I heard it through the grapevine, I hear that they're looking to sell Memorial Field in a little while, so.
I think that's down the road, but I think let's focus
It's,
there.
once you start talking, you can just keep it going.
I mean, I know you got a second just now, from trustee Fowler.
Yeah.
but it would be cool if we start a subcommittee that can include some of the members of the Romeo Citizen
So you think
Task
more of a
Force.
task force than just a subcommittee here?
Yeah, not
Right.
just specifically for 297, but
Get more input.
on the topic, but I
think
guess initially our
I
goal
would feel
would
that
be
maybe
that.
that could be a separate task force, because I think the conversations, like the school directed, need to happen from the village
Mhm.
as an entity, not so much residents, which I'm not saying they're not worthwhile, but if they have another task force that's involved, I think that would be the best, personally, but.
I think some of the talks that need to happen at the beginning need to be
Yeah.
with the municipality. Going forward, the first thing I would like clarified, I have not watched the school board meeting. It's the same night as our meetings. But I have not watched it, so I have not seen them say that or heard them say that. What I have read, though, was recently in the paper, front page article, their board chair saying it is going to be sold. We've always said it's going to be sold. Paraphrasing, I apologize. So, and that was just last week or so in the paper. So that's concerning. I haven't been reached out to from the school board, anyone on the school board or superintendent yet. So yes, I think the first initial, we need to make sure that they want this property. Because as a government, I would really caution us against making plans for other people's property. So after we walk forward and that they continue to say yes and we can get somewhere, I would like to then open that up, absolutely. But let's first make sure that they would like their property to be considered anything else but being sold. That's just my first concern, is that we don't make plans for other people's property.
Yeah, I mean, we need to work together. The fact that these conversations haven't already happened since the school's been torn down isn't great. I
Yeah.
think it's healthy just to start that conversation.
I think
There
they're
needs
willing to
be-
hear. I think it showed that they're listening and they're
Yeah.
willing to hear. But after what I read from Ms. Banich and not having any communication makes me not want to step forward in planning until we for sure have something in writing from them that they would like to walk forward with us.
I think their intention is to sell the property, one way or the other, to somebody. Whether the community buys it or a home builder buys it, they want to sell they want to sell the property. They don't want, they want to
They're not
just
gonna
wash
give
their
it- they're
hands
not
of
gonna
it.
give it away.
Correct, but in the past, up until this point, they've wanted to sell, they've made it quite clear they would like to sell it to a developer.
Well, because they
they've-
thought that's the only option they had.
No, it
until
was
this
not.
group
They had
started
somebody
showing up at
offer
their
them to buy the
meetings.
property to give it to us.
Yeah.
And they turned that offer down.
Well, I
There's been
think that's a
offers.
little much to expect, to ask them to give it to us.
No. they
No,
wouldn't give it.
somebody
A
offered to
personal,
buy it
private
and
buyout
donate
would
it to the
buy it.
village,
I don't even know if they-
allowing us
if
to
they
just
even
do
looked at it.
this.
But there's probably a dollar amount that they're gonna need. And I don't know if that person met that dollar amount or not. I
They were,
have no
they were
idea.
close, at least that's what I heard. So
Well-
again, let's just clarify, then we will step forward. I think a green space in the middle of the park,
Do you want to keep it
village
as
would be
two, or do you want to add a
amazing.
third, Nolan? I mean, you're gonna be the head of this one.
I'd like to be able to include at least one representative from the organization. I mean, they're.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Can
would do that.
Can I put Franco? He was gonna act as the liaison anyway for that organization.
There you go.
I'm not asking for specific
Glenn.
planning. We don't have to dedicate it to green space. I just wanna start the conversation.
Oh, yeah,
all.
that's right. There's the guy there's
So-
the guy right there in the flannel shirt.
yeah.
So what was the motion again?
To form a subcommittee with the board and not to discredit residents, I think that's next step. I think the conversation needs to start, like, they're requesting the village needs to reach out to the school board and.
I think you need to not deny the work that those guys have done.
I'm not trying to do that at
Yeah,
all.
we're
I
gonna-
think
we're gonna
that's.
include 'em.
I think
They've
it's
put a lot of work into this already.
I
They've made
completely understand
presentations
that.
to us.
And
We haven't
at the
done
planning
any of
commission,
that.
they presented this also.
Okay.
The school board members were there, and I got the feeling that they wanted the village to reach out as the entity to start these conversations. Once things start happening, then I think we could filter in a citizen task force if we want to initiate that. And maybe at that point, we dissolve this subcommittee. But let's get the ball rolling, let's get the talks starting,
Yeah,
and go from there.
You got a motion in a second.
me, you, and Franco then.
I'm saying right now, just the board, get started. And once the conversations open up, then form a task force then, maybe next month. It could be as quick as that, get the task force rolling. They can still be doing what they're doing now, we're not saying stop. We're saying the school board, from my understanding, is they want us to reach out, not us and residents. They want us to reach out.
As a subcommittee, it wouldn't just be random residents communicating for
I
them.
respect that. I don't see any, I don't feel any hesitation from them right now either, so.
Okay, who made the motion? I apologize.
I made the motion to form a subcommittee with Nolan as a liaison, myself, and if a third would like to,
I won't be able to.
I can.
Shelley, form the subcommittee, start the conversations initially.
Sure.
Working with the group present,
Mm-hmm.
but the committee is this committee right now.
That's fine. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion for subcommittee by Parker, second by Fowler. Subcommittee of the council to include Parker, Nolan, and Rousseau. I'm sorry, Nolan. Care. Do you want to, could you
Roll
call a roll?
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Care,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rosso,
Yes.
Poznanski.
Yes. Okay, moving on now to our construction review board. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So we've been asked to,
What's
no,
that?
no. Nope, they're just all done.
Thank you for coming.
Have a good night.
Good night.
The village has been asked, if they, business has asked to go before our Construction Board of Appeals, of which we don't have. So we must create. So first we need to start it off with having an ordinance that allows for us to have that. Mr. Clark has drafted that for us. From there, I have 3 names. You have a letter in here from Mr. Bomarito that he recommends 3 members. I have 3 names to appoint. According to the law, you have 30 days from the point that it's asked for. It was asked for on the 29th of last month. We are in a good time frame, as long as we approve everything tonight or make any of the adjustments and approve to move forward and still stay within the state law of the 30 days. I included in here, Clerk Trapp made some sample or already made applications. And we do have the guidelines of how to apply and the price, the cost that it would be, depending if it's single, multi, or an industrial building, of what that application would cost, what they would need to submit before that board. I am asking that we do pay these people. We don't have to. They were also willing to do it.
So my
Volunteer.
understanding, Megan, this is something we should have had in place.
With the villages, as far as I can understand, that we don't have this ordinance, we've never had a need for it,
I would have
but
thought
yes.
that if they wanted to come to a Board of Appeals, they would come to the village council.
This is a very specific Board of Appeals for construction. Other townships, municipalities that are much larger, they already have these. They have review appeals often. This is the first time our building inspector has been opposed, so they have the right to appeal to other professionals in the area, and that's where this zoning board, this appeals board comes in.
Mark, does this need to, if we vote to move forward, does this then need to have a public hearing?
It does not.
It does not, okay.
It does not. I mean, the appeal itself would be a public hearing, but you don't need a public hearing on the adoption of the ordinance.
Okay.
Right.
Make a motion to respect the construction, you want the code number and everything in here, Mr. Clark?
No, I'm sure the clerk will fill that in.
Right, I leave the sections blank because I'm not in charge of the pagination or the section numbering. Unicode does that. you're supposed to integrate them with your existing ordinances, so I just always leave those blank.
Municipality enforcing, how am I titling this thing?
Construction Board of Appeal ordinance?
Local administrative resources, State Construction Code Act, 1972 PA 230. About it?
Just approve the Construction Board of Appeals ordinance as presented.
As presented, thank you.
Would be,
That's simple.
okay.
So, I'll second, but to clarify, it's a motion to approve a Construction Board of Appeal ordinance for the Village of Romeo? Okay, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Fowler, second by Parker. We do have 3 members appointed for 2-year terms by the Romeo Village President.
Do we need to form it first and then appoint?
Correct, that's why we will do a roll call.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The application for Construction Board of Appeals that's in here, where was that generated from?
Another municipality that also has it.
Okay, so we're pretty clear that's everything we would need to know. Okay, and then on the next page, the industrial building construction is highlighted. Is that for a particular reason? Or-
I think that is because the one that currently is coming in front is that one. I did ask the clerk to, given that it's a higher amount, so single family would be 150, multi is 250, and then the industrial is 500. And I did ask why, and we need to be able to support that. We can't just throw out a number. But she said that the review of the documents is more costly. They're bigger, they're more in depth, so that's where that would come from.
Okay,
Makes sense.
thank you.
So if we'd have the roll for the ordinance.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Care,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rosso,
Yes.
Poznanski.
Yes. Okay, and then if I could appoint 3 members.
Did we have those in our?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to make contact with them before I just appointed names, so at the point that I had to send out the packets, I had not received confirmation from everybody. So there is Eric Eiter, Chad Assam, and Joe Vaglia. I did ask each of them. They are interested. They do, at least 2 out of 3 also sit or have sat on other construction review boards. 2 of them at least have extensive history of 30 years in engineering. One teaches or is a professor at Wayne State in this area. They are well-versed in construction and the rules of the code.
Village residents, obviously.
No, no.
That's one thing it can't be.
Really?
Well, I mean, it could be, but they are not.
Oh, I thought it couldn't be a village resident.
I don't know that it necessarily denotes that they can't, Mark.
They can be, but they don't
They
have to be.
correct.
So
They just
no-
have to be qualified.
But
And
not-
even the definition of qualified in the state construction
very
code is rather vague.
So,
So
they
none of
only
them
need-
are village residents.
no.
I think that's good, keeps the bias out of it,
I agree.
yeah.
And
So
they-
they only meet, sorry, if somebody's appealing the ruling of
As
Mr.
needed,
Bomarito?
correct.
As needed? Do they get paid for doing this?
That is something we can set.
And, okay, so we're obviously.
Within that
hoping
$500, that leaves a little leeway for us to set them compensation,
Okay.
if we would so like.
We don't have to set that now, do we?
I'll make a motion to approve the 3 representatives. Or do you need a motion?
I don't know, the ordinance says is appointed by the president.
Right, because the state construction code says the chief executive officer of the municipality will appoint. It doesn't mention
So it doesn't need board
appointing
approval.
with board approval.
Okay.
So you can gild the lily, there's no harm in approving it, but it's not necessary.
Going forward, would you suggest that these get added to the annual appointments at the beginning of the year? That we also go over with our supervisors and all of those others? Or,
Not necessarily, you could, but because they're for 2-year terms, you could do that every other
Okay,
year
every
when the
other- okay.
terms come up. And something else, I didn't do it this time because in the draft of the ordinance which you've adopted, You may at some point, if it becomes a problem, stagger the terms. You could amend the ordinance to stagger the terms. I didn't do it this time because, one, I didn't know if that was necessary, and secondly, there's a certain urgency to establish this and get it up and running. So, but you may want to consider that at some point in the future.
Okay.
Would you like a motion to support your?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to support President Poznanski's appointments for the Construction Board of Appeals.
Second.
Okay, we have motion by Parker, second by Care. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have none opposed. Okay. We have an ordinance review, specifically regarding the storage of recreational vehicles. It was brought to my attention in the enforcement of this ordinance that what we currently enforce isn't what this ordinance says at all. So I asked the Planning Commission to look at it. They kind of said they didn't want to touch it. Or I don't know, how would you say that, Trustee Parker? I don't want to say they didn't want to touch it, but they wanted it to be left alone.
I got the feeling that they didn't want to touch it.
Okay, okay, maybe I'm correct. So anyways, so we move forward because we are the ordinance board. So essentially, if you look at the picture, it literally, permitted parking is in that permitted parking area. I will read the highlighted portion. No storage of motor vehicles or recreational vehicles may be allowed within a required front yard or the established building line, whichever is more restrictive, or required side or required rear yard, which leaves literally that space right behind the house. So then I also had for you, some of these words in here are important to what all of this means in that definition. What is outdoor storage or stored? What does that mean? So outdoor storage in our ordinance is defined as outdoor storage means the keeping in an unroofed area or of any goods, junk material, merchandise, or vehicles in the same place for more than 24 hours. So you also cannot park it behind your home for more than 24 hours. And then we have further the definition of what is a recreational vehicle. We have A through F. I'll just summarize it. Basically, a travel trailer, campers of any manufactured site, a pickup camper, a motorized home, a folding tent trailer, boats, boat trailers, jet skis, that sort of thing, snowmobiles and all-terrain vehicles, something that is a vehicle for outdoors. So essentially, we have an ordinance here that we don't ever follow. So if we would like it to be different, I would like us to adjust it to such. And that's why I brought it to the Planning Commission, that where would, as the planners of the village, where would you like to be able to see these vehicles? Would you like them to be able to be parked anywhere? Behind the front line of the house, behind the back line of the house, in a required side yard? Where would we like these? As they currently sit, everybody that has a camper, myself included, I will not say that I don't, they're illegal. They should not be parked there. But we don't enforce this ordinance, and I can't recall that we have.
Not any current times. I know that in the past they used to, and some people, I think, I can't remember the family name on Croswell, right next to the school drive, built a huge indoor storage unit for their motorhome to house it. So, yeah, we have them enforced, I think.
Right.
Pushed in some time.
And that's where I get confused by the Planning Commission, by that they didn't want to touch it. They want this to stay this way?
I don't think it was presented that way, as you've just presented it. I think it was presented more that you wanted the
Okay,
planning
'cause
commission to.
I would
start
prefer not to
enforcing.
just send the officers out tomorrow and give 50 people tickets.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would say send it back, and we can take a
Guess we
different
need some
approach at it.
ideas, yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Are we
well,
looking to adjust after this? It sounds to me like if
I
as
feel
long
like
as
the
they move it like a
village
foot every
has, behind the house though, only behind the house.
day. Yeah.
I feel like the village has evolved over the years. So whatever point this was made, there was a certain look that they must have been going for. I don't know.
I think it was the ones that were run down, beat down, sinking into the grass, not moved.
We have ordinance
I mean,
for
like the
that.
house that had all the cars in it, right here, right? I mean, I think that was the intent. That's what I feel the intent was, not to have these things just piled up in your backyard.
And I did
for-
ask our,
for years.
the village planner, I asked her, what do other municipalities do? Is this typical? Are we asking too much? And she said, no, it is kind of typical. However, it is a little more of a hot topic lately. And that it just sounds like basically from the ordinance, it was something that wasn't wanted to be seen from the street or the sidewalk. So that when you're going for a walk, you don't see a camper parked on someone's grass in their side yard next to their neighbor's driveway.
Or just park in the driveway for 2
Right.
years.
But we also do have ordinance, as long as it needs to be plated and running, and if there's multiple of them sitting there that clearly don't work, then that's a different issue that we do have covered in ordinance. But do you agree, would you like to address this ordinance as a council?
I mean, it's kind of tricky. I mean, obviously, I think we're kind of dancing around it in the aspect of nobody wants the eyesore. I don't mind if you have your nice camper, you know, for the weekend, for the summer, if it's tucked away and it's okay, you know, people have varying opinions on it, but ultimately, we're just trying to eliminate the eyesore. Nobody wants something there for long-term,
Yeah.
year-round.
And we just need to define that going
You know,
forward.
Right.
As far as the size of garages that people can build? Because I see homeowners building large garages to put their RVs inside of them.
They've actually,
So now you're obstructing somebody else's view, and you got an oversized garage in the back of your yard, something that you really didn't anticipate on being there. So, I mean,
That's what
the
Justin
Well,
was
isn't that
talking
done by our accessory building ordinance and
yeah.
I mean,
such?
So I missed it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You know, you're parking in your driveway, so if you want to adhere to the ordinance, put it in the garage. So you build an oversized garage and put it in there.
You mentioned that you spoke to our planner about what other municipalities do. It wasn't so clear to me, so are they just choosing to kind of not enforce it the same way we are, or what?
No, I was just asking her kind of how they defined it, what were their rules surrounding a recreational vehicle?
Yeah,
As in, is this unheard of? Was this
Right.
too much, or is this typical? And it was kind of,
I know
It
other
is kind of
communities, 24/48, you know, you get home from a trip, you unload, you clean it up, and then you take it to the storage. I think is typically what I've seen in other communities.
But that's why you live in a village or a town, so you
I,
can use that property.
I think it's not just village, I mean, it's most municipalities are along the same mindset.
which we could adjust the portion where it talks about how long that is versus the 24 hours. You could adjust that portion. That still keeps it a little restricted. Move it into the side yard instead of behind the home. I don't know. It's not, but I see an ordinance, and as the chief executive officer who must enforce ordinances, I prefer not to make a lot of angry people.
Yes.
I would,
I wouldn't
I would
either,
recommend
but-
sending it back to planning.
I mean, I'll do it if
Yeah,
we want to.
I'd like to see some kind of standard or consistency.
They may
So-
have to start all over if this is that,
Redo some of those terms, yeah.
yeah.
So, do we
We're gonna have
want,
jet skis where four-wheelers not on, right?
Right.
Right.
You know, stuff like that, so I would agree.
do we want to move this to the
Task
planning
force.
commission, or do we want to do this as the council?
I think we just task the planner
Okay.
to come up with
Yeah,
something
Get it back
better.
to
or-
planning, have a good conversation,
Yep.
Okay.
But it's on our books right now, like this.
as is.
It's on our books as is. I did tell the officers, they asked me, what did I want them to do? And I said, let's put a moratorium at the moment. So, Mark, can we do that, make a motion to put a moratorium on an ordinance for, I mean, is that?
You can, and if you feel like addressing it that way, you have the ability to do that. I would recommend if you consider that it be specific and it be of some limited duration, that you also specify the duration, a reasonable amount of time. I wouldn't just leave it open-ended, but on the other hand, you don't want to make the time frame, or at least my recommendation would be to not make the time frame so short that you can't accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Right.
So let's takes planning 2 meetings. and
I'd
then it's
say at
gotta
least
come
till,
back here.
I'd say till June, that way you have clear enough time to everyone address it, look at it. Do we need,
I was
would
gonna
we
say
need to have a,
6
public?
months, but
No, you can make a motion to place a moratorium on the enforcement of the ordinance. This is under your zoning ordinance, I believe, on the provision in the zoning ordinance regarding the parking of recreational vehicles, however you define that. One other thing I'll caution you about is that I don't know if people are waiting to, hit that purchase button on recreational vehicles to see what the village council does with this, and suddenly they sprout like mushrooms. I don't know, but the point is, if you allow the moratorium, depending on what your end result is, or the desired result at the end, it may make ultimate enforcement more difficult. But that's for your consideration. But you do have the ability to place a moratorium on it.
Understood. Okay, so we'll kick it back to planning, ask them to review.
say give us a couple months and bring it, I think June is too far down the road. I'd say before people start bringing them out in the spring.
Or leaving them now to go to Florida.
Yeah, well, then they're gone, that's fine. They still have the 24 hours to get them ready.
You want March?
I think March is, yeah, so we don't get for some reason I just envision all these people just buying, like he's saying, these things, and we just got piles of RV stuff in people's
Right.
yards, because, we can do what we want for 6 months, but, yeah,
But we don't have to broadcast that.
well, we just did.
Okay, we will bring it back to the planning commission.
You need a motion to,
Do you want a moratorium?
I don't think so.
no, maybe just,
We will just,
okay, I'm not, all right.
I would, to Mr. Clark's caution, hate to put a moratorium on something that might have to be enforced before March,
Sounds good,
depending on what would come up.
perfect.
We struck, we have event permit. We have our downtown trick or treating. This is the event that nobody takes ownership for. But here we are asking to shut down the street, so we just filled out a permit ourselves.
PD's on board, I'm assuming.
Yes, they just needed official ask.
I'll make a
Make the
motion
motion.
that we approve this village event permit for trick or treating.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion by Bartholomew, support by Parker.
Where
I'll-
are the barricades going? Do you know?
We go Washington.
Okay, same as always.
Yes,
every year.
just the downtown.
Yeah. So no changes. Okay, that's all right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? We have none opposed. And then we had a road project budget update. Is that my item that I have? Apologize. So basically in our budget that you get every month, there's a line item. Page 12 has our street improvements. It has our project in there. And to date, we have paid out 35,000, and I want to say that was to HRC for engineering cost. We are starting, now that the project's wrapping up, we are starting to get our estimates in, but nothing else has been paid yet.
Is it running as expected? cost-wise?
Close. I do see that we will need to make adjustments.
Okay.
It's like every project, it has gone over in certain areas, but given what, so the field submits to HRC, this is what I'm learning. So the field submits what they did to HRC. HRC then also receives that from their site supervisor. If you've ever met him, Mr. Jerry, he was a very great supervisor from HRC. HRC receives both of those reports, compares them of what their supervisor saw and approved as done versus what they claim was done. Not that that anybody would claim anything, but again, we always check our work, make sure that they line up. Comes back to HRC, they sign off, say they've done the due diligence, they send it into myself and Catherine, we sign off. If there is an overage, that will come back here, that will be approved at the table. So we are allowed to spend what was approved already. Anything that has to go over would be an adjustment to the project.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Anybody else on the project? I think it looks fabulous.
They did a good job.
They've,
Jerry does a really good job.
yes, fine tooth comb. As we move forward, I will be requesting Jerry on all of the phases. He gave me his packet. I have everything marked for history. Somebody one day will be very appreciative of the detail that he took and that we recorded.
Yeah, he's on top of things.
Can I make a
Mr.
motion
Fowler.
to adjourn?
Oh, can I ask a question first? What is happening, if you know, up on, North Bailey, the fire hydrant had some barrels around it and some tubes coming out, and then I think it was,
We were flushing hydrants.
okay, so probably the same one over, but it was for days.
I don't know.
It was Tim, there you go. Okay, is that what's happening today too, on Main? There was something,
That was sewer.
okay,
That has to do with the road work. It's actually very cool. I went out and watched it, as we are redoing the roads, we have infrastructure underneath that needs care. It was imperative that we don't put in new roads that should last us, 20, 30 years? To have to remove a pipe in 5 to rip up the new road that we just paid for to put in this pipe. So there were certain ones that were pointed out. It's called lining, essentially. It's a cast. You throw it down there. They blow it up with air, steam it, it hardens into the supposed to be 100-year pipe. So these should last way past our roads. Yes, that's what that was.
thank you.
Okay, who's,
Motion to adjourn?
motion by Parker?
Support.
Support by Edwards. All in favor? Aye.